webinar, First Steps into Smart Farming. So let us recap what we discussed last time in one sentence. You are well versed with it. It's a knowledge of farming you have gained through internets or YouTubes or meeting the farmers and experiencing short-term crops which are grown in the leased land and having a mentor and passion and mental preparedness for life about farming. These are all the things we discussed in the last session. In this session, we'll discuss about selection of the right land for you and what are all the basic legal and infrastructural criteria you need to look into, and selection of the right crops and how to achieve maximum with multi-cropping patterns. And next session, it will be 1 hour session, that is 4 to 5 with a 10 minutes break on 23rd May 2020. In that, we'll be discussing about understanding the capital requirements and managing your funds, do's and don'ts in farming, and increasing the cash flow to reduce the operational costs, and think beyond these in the next step of farming. Now you have ready, well equipped. You are out in search of a land. Ideally, 10 acres of land is the minimum what you need to start with. Less than 10 acres, if it is 2 or 3 acres, it is economically not viable, because all the infrastructures what you need to do for 10 acres, 20 acres or 3 acres remains the same. Having a supervisor and spending time and commuting time, all these remains the same. It is worthwhile having minimum of 10 acres so that it is sufficient to lead a family comfortably. Then what are all the criteria you need to look for? And you need to definitely take the help of brokers. Don't worry about the brokerage, it's worth it. But tell your broker beforehand what are the criteria you are looking into and explain him everything, but never tell him the budget. Because if you tell him the budget, then he will start manipulating. So accept the budget, you explain what you want. So let broker and you don't waste much time. And what you need to look when you go and start seeing the farm. First and foremost is sufficient water. Good water source is a must for any farming. That too, the type of crops what we are going to discuss, water source is important. It is like blood to your body. It is very important to have. For example, when I bought, it was on the riverbed. That is the best source of water. Otherwise, you can have channel irrigated lands or small rivers or well-established lakes. All these are good water sources. Bore wells, yes, but I will not suggest you or recommend you, because after developing all these, suddenly if there is no water in the bore, then you end up in a mess. So I will honestly not suggest you to go in for borewell irrigations. Regarding the distance, it is best to have as close to your working place or your living place. But as you know, you are in the town and closer town is very expensive. Don't waste too much of money on that. Go little away, 1.5 hours, even 2 hours drive is perfect. With the type of vehicles we have, it's very easy. You can enjoy the ride also. So 1.5 hours drive, you can go and search for a suitable land. Then you will have to look for road access. Road access is also very, very important, equally important. You need to have an independent road access to your farm. I don't mean you need to be next to the highway or next to the tar roads. No, it just good motorable mud road is sufficient, but you should not be going through somebody else's farm or even in forest lands. Better to have the roads which is on the map. Sometimes 2 or 3 of your friends will join together and buy a land. Even then, you divide the land in the beginning, have separate access to all these individual lands to avoid further complications. Then terrain and gradient. This is also very important. Don't buy the very flat lands where the water drainage is not possible. Water is very important, but draining out the water is also equally important. So with the open drain, you should be able to drain out or percolate the water. Then only you get the best yield. A flat land is okay for a paddy or such crop, but we are not talking about such crops here. And types of lands. There are basically two types of lands, farmlands. One is regular agricultural lands. Again, that is divided into A, B, and C. A are the channel irrigated lands where you have gravity water supply 365 days. And second type, B type, is a on the riverbed, for example, a elevated area where water is pumped. And third is C, it's a totally rain dependent areas. I would prefer a B type of land for the crops what we are going to discuss. And second is plantation crops. Coffee, tea, rubber, and exclusively grown pepper are considered as plantation crops. And these plantation areas, the legal patterns and the all these differs from the regular agricultural lands. Dear friends, one or two things you need to see before you buy the land. First is land records. Land records are very, very crucial, very, very important part. A good titled land, it's called good title land, is very, very important. Even while you are enjoying the land or whenever you want to sell it, a land having good records is very easy and you'll be comfortable with. And legal issues. Once you have seen the land, you have liked the land, then go and talk to the seller, have the negotiation in pricing, and pay a nominal advance of 10 or 20,000 rupees. Then get a full set of Xerox documents from him. Give it to the efficient lawyers. Why I mean efficient? because not all lawyers are well versed with land records scrutinizing. So you have to search specialized lawyers who are well versed with land records, and one should be your own bank lawyer, so that he is the one who is going to give all the opinion while taking the loans. Once the lawyer approves, normally once the land is chosen, once the land records are scrutinized, they go in for registration. No, friends, definitely I'll suggest you two more steps before that. One is take a Tipney copy, take the land map and the village map, get a private surveyor and get it surveyed. That is very, very important step. Once it is surveyed, if it matches with the Tipney copy, or normally there is extra land, if you are buying 10 acres, normally there will be 12 acres, then you are fine with that. Many a times the survey number, what is on the paper and physically on the land, they don't match at all. So these are the issues you have to look into. And if it is less, then always you can go back to the seller and renegotiate, since there is not enough land. And one more is, ask your seller to put the fencing and demarcate it. You pay for the fencing, no problem, but let him put the fencing, because he's well versed with the neighbors. When he puts the fence, it is comfortable. As a new landowner, when you try to go and put the fencing, there can be a lot of aberrations. So ask him to put the fencing so that you are comfortable. After doing all these basic work, now you are ready for registration. You can get it registered either through a competent lawyer or a document writer and get it registered. While registering, make sure that if there is a house in that, get the house number documented, house electricity meter documented numbers, and irrigation pump set numbers documented, because later it will be easy for you to get it transferred to your name. After the registration is over, then Kata changing is an important step. Get the Kata changed. Mandatory, it takes around 45 days. Once the Kata is changed, then you will have mutation extract, register extract, and RTC in your name. So now you are the proud owner of your dreamland. Dear friends, it's a very, very nice feeling to have a nice farm of your own. It's a very, very nice, proud feeling. Okay, now let us discuss about how to go about from here on after acquiring the land. I would suggest, as you have done 2 years of short-term crops in your lease land, next 1 year continue the same thing. Next 1 year you grow bananas, papayas, onions, sugar cane, whatever, which is for 1 year, so that you will get acquainted to small nook and corners of your land, and you have time to plan for your permanent crops. At this stage, I'll caution you, go around, see all the farmers nearby what they are doing, but don't follow them, don't copy and paste them, because they are full-time farmers. You are not. You are a part-time farmer. You are taken it as a parallel profession. So make all that alterations what is required for you, and always choose crops which are permanent. The plants and the yield also, because yield What, for example, I have chosen arecanut, coconut, pepper, coffee. These are the, you can keep it for very long. Whenever you want to, you can sell it. Don't grow something like vegetables, fruits, or floriculture. These are very perishable. You will not have enough time, like full-time farmers, to look after them and to sell them immediately. Okay. Now I'll discuss what I did in the first year. So during this short-term crop, immediately you have to take a map of your farm, like how the engine architects plan the whole house before they build. You plan the whole garden of yours on the sheet, white sheet, mentioning all the crops what you are planning to plant and the distance, mark them on the paper, and give the roads inside the farm. Every 300 feet should have a small road inside. Initially, you may not appreciate it. Later, when during the harvesting or fertilizer times, these will come very handy. And good open drains needs to be marked on the paper, which are very, very important for both draining of the water and aeration to the roots. Along with this, you need to plan the irrigation infrastructure. Irrigation is also very important. I would prefer a sprinkler type of irrigation so that all the pipelines, all these infrastructure irrigation can be drawn on this paper and later it can be implemented. Some would prefer drip irrigation because the maintenance of the drip irrigation is comparatively little tougher. So that's left to you. And leave an open area of 3/4 an acre. Don't plant anything permanent crops in that area. That is needed for to build a supervisor's room or storage room to keep the implements and drying yard, etc. But temporarily for few years till you build that, you can grow these short-term crops in that. So now I'll explain what I did in the first year. So as I said, I grew sugarcane in the first year, and I planted the areca plantation, that is 9 by 9, 520 plants per an acre, and all round the fence boundary, I planted the coconut plants. And the inside roads, along the roads, I planted agarwood, clove, and nutmeg. And first 3 years, I planted for bananas and cocoa. So these bananas I grew for 3 years. This will help to give enough shade for these permanent crops. Again, the income from this is very, very handy to maintain the garden for first 3 years. After the third year, fourth year, you take out all these bananas, and second stage of planting of black pepper on agar plants and arecanut plants, and Chandragiri varieties of coffee throughout the plant, that is 7 by 7 or 9 by 9. So that completes the whole pattern, and implement all these in your farm. From fourth year to seventh or eighth year, definitely you need to spend money from your pocket for all the supervisions, all the maintenance, that you can take agricultural development loans. From eighth year onwards, all these arecanut, coconut, pepper, clove, and nutmeg will start yielding, and nobody can stop you from there. But now, given a choice, I have little more improvised version of this. You can, as you see on the screen, one row of arecanut with a distance of 7 feet, and next row of agar wood. Between the rows, it is 11 feet. And you keep on repeating the same arecanut and agar wood. And along the road, you plant clove and nutmegs, and in the boundaries, coconut. After the third year, fourth year onwards, remove all the bananas and plant Chandragiri. You can, as very well, you can see the Chandragiri plants in between, and vanilla for the arecanut and pepper for agar wood, because agar wood will start yielding, like you can cut only after 12, 13, 14 years. So till then you can grow the pepper on that, and vanilla you can grow on the arecanut, and definitely Chandragiri coffee will start yielding from the third year. So around the 8th year, all these will be in their optimum yielding stage. At this stage, with this infrastructure, with this planting, if you look after them, definitely you will be earning around 4 to 5 lakhs per acre per year net income. That is the best what you can get. Okay, since you have the compact pattern of planting, you need to supplement with good fertilizers as well. So you need to give good NPK. And one more thing, get the soil testing also done once in 2-3 years, and supplement the micronutrients if there's deficient. And pH to be checked every year or once in 2 years. If it is required, you can compensate that. And you need to learn about good composting methods. Whatever organic waste and leaves, everything, you can do a good composting with cow dung, with bio fertilizers, and now you get all the farmer friendly bacteria also, like trichoderma and pseudomonas. You can have good composting, and you can supplement all these plants.